All right, so let's see the example. Um, okay, so I think, yep, so this is what the start of the example. Example, we have product X, Y, and Z. Throughput contribution, see the start, yeah. Throughput contribution from product X is 12, Y is 10, and Z is 6. Machine hours required for every unit. In case of machine 1, we need 6 hours. So product X is supposed to process in machine 6 for 6 hours, X for 6 hours. Machine 2, product X is supposed to be produced or processed in machine 2 for 9 hours, in machine 3 for 3 hours. And the same similarly for Y, 2 hours, 3 hours, and 1 hour, respectively, in machine 1, 2, and 3. And Z is supposed to process in machine 1, 2, 3, respectively, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and 0.5 hours. Estimated sales. The organization is expecting to sell 200 units of each product, X, Y, and Z, 200, 200, and 200. So, what is the total hour organization need to produce 200, 200, and 200 of each of these products? So we can calculate total machine hours. So if you produce 200 units of X, you need 200 times 6 multiplied by 6. So you will get 200 times 6 is 1200 hours of machine 1 for producing 200 units of product X. Okay. And if you want to produce 200 units of X, you need 1800 hours of machine hours in machine 2. So that is 9 multiplied by 200, that is 1800. And 3 multiplied by 200 is 600 hours of machine 3 is needed for producing 200 units of product X. So similarly, we can calculate for product Y and product Z. So 200 times 2 is 400. 200 times 1 is 100. 200 times 0.5, that is 100. So similarly, you can calculate this, and you can see how many hours of machine we um, need to produce the products, 200 of each products. So total machine hours, 1800. Machine 1 should be operating for 1800 hours. Machine 2 should operate 2700 hours. Machine 3 should operate 900 hours. Okay, but there is a condition here. Note, machine capacity is limited to 1600 hours. So machine 1 can run only 1600 hours, 2 can run only 1600 hours, machine 3 can run 1600 hours. So if this is the case, so machine hour is our limiting factor. Because of machine hour, we can't produce more, though we have material, though we have labor. Okay, so machine hour is our bottleneck resource in this problem. Okay, so machine hour 1, 1800 hours we need to produce 200, 200, and 200 of each of these products. If we want to produce 600 units combined of combination of X, Y, and Z, 200, 200, and 200, then we need 1800 machine hours of machine 1. But we have 1600. Okay. In case of machine 2, we need 2700. So we have plenty. In case of machine 3, we need only 900, but the capacity of the machine is 1600. So machine 3 is not a bottleneck resource. So machine 1 and 2 are the bottleneck resource here. Okay. So which one we should address first? Which machine we need to solve? Which machine we need to address? Which issue we should solve first? Okay, so let's see. So we have to identify which one is the most, which machine is in most crisis. So if you see the based on our requirements, based on our need and what's the hour available. So if you calculate the percentage, machine 1 is operating at 112%, 1800 divided by 1600 multiplied by 100, so 112%. We need 112%, but we have 100%, that is 1600. Machine 2 is operating at 169%, because we need 2700 divided by 1600 multiplied by 100, so 169% capacity machine 2 is running. And machine 3 is actually, it has idle capacity of 44%. So we are using only 56% of the machine 3. So what's the position now? Machine 2 represents the bottleneck resource as it has the highest machine utilization. Okay, so highest utilization is in case of machine 2. So this is the bottleneck resource. This is the problem that we need to address first. We don't need, obviously, we have some problem. We have problem in machine 1, but machine 1 is not a problem at the moment, because we can produce more using machine 1's capacity than machine 2. Okay, so we have to address the problem of machine 2 first, because it is in the most crisis. And then we need to rank the products based on the throughput contribution. So based on the throughput contribution, the ratio, based on the machine hour of machine 2, we have to calculate the ratio and then rank the products. Which one, how much of the product X, Y, and Z we can produce, or which product we actually should produce to maximize the profit, to maximize the utilization of machine 2 as a resource. Let's see. So this is the contribution given per unit of X, per unit of Y, per unit of Z. The contribution is given. If not given, we can calculate. How can we calculate? Material cost need to be deducted from sales price. So what is the sales price of X minus what is the material cost of X? If you deduct material cost of X from selling price of X, then you will get contribution per unit. Okay, but in this problem we are given this. Next, so machine 2 is our what's called is the bottleneck. Okay, so how many hours we need for the products? Okay, how many hours product X should be processed in machine 2? How many hours product Y should be processed in machine 2? How many hours of product Z should be processed in machine 2? So these are the hours also given in the question. So as it is the bottleneck resource, machine 2. So based on this, we have to calculate the throughput accounting ratio. So contribution per unit and the machine hour needed per unit. So divide this number by this, you can see 1.33, okay, per machine hour. For every machine hour, what's your contribution? 1.33. For every machine hour, what's your contribution? 3.33. For every machine hour, what's your contribution? Is 4. So that is 6 divided by 1.5 is 4. 10 divided by 3 is 3.33. So if we see the contribution, so if you use machine 2 1 hour for product X, this is your contribution. If you use 1 hour of machine 2 for product Y, this is your contribution. If you use 1 hour of machine 2 for product Z, this is what would be your income. This is what would be your contribution. So based on this, we can now decide which one I should process, which one I should produce. Obviously, you will use 1 hour of machine 2 for product Z first. As long as you can produce product Z, you will not go for producing other products, because this one will give you the maximum benefit, maximum profit, and that's why this is the highest ranking, first preference. Okay, so which product you will produce first? Product Z. Okay, why? Because this one is giving you the maximum contribution per hour of your machine 2, the bottleneck resource. Second choice is this, because this is the second highest. Okay, so if you don't need to produce any more Z, then you will go for producing product Y until you have product X, Z's demand in the market. You will not go for producing Y. You will produce product Z. But you finished 200 demand fulfilled. You don't have any other demand for product Z. Then you will produce product Y, and you'll use machine 2 for product Y, right? Because you will get this much contribution, 3.33. But from product X, you will get just for the same hour. If this 1 hour is used for product X, you'll get 1.33. The same hour, don't produce X, produce Y, then you will get this. If you produce Z, you'll get this. So obviously, that's why product Z will be the first preference, product Y is the second preference, product X is the third preference. So now see how many product X, Y, and Z you can produce based on the limiting resource, machine hour 2. So remember how many hours you have available, 1600. So so firstly, what's the first choice? Z. So we'll produce Z, and we have demand 200 maximum. 200, if you produce 200 of Z, how many machine hours you need? Okay, so Z, for one product of Z, you need 1.5 hour, 1.5 hours. So for producing 200 of Z, how many hours you need? So 200 multiplied by 1.5 is 300 hours you need. Okay, so 300 already you used for Z. How many hours remains? You have remaining 1300. 1600 is the capacity of machine 2. So 300 already we have allocated. Okay, we used for product Z. So how many hours remain? 1300 hours. Okay, next, what's the second choice? Second choice is Y. Okay, and what's the demand for Y? 200 again. So 200, if you produce 200 for one product of Y, you need 3 hours of machine 2. 3 hours. So 3 hours times 200. Okay, so 3 multiplied by 200 is 600 hours you need to produce product Y. 200 hours of machine 2. 600 hours of machine 2. Okay, so 200 products Y times 3 is 600 hours for product Y. So already you use 900. So if you deduct 900 from 1600, how much remains? 700. All right, 700 remaining. So 300 if you deduct from 1600, 1300, and 600 if you deduct 600 from 1300, remaining balance is 700. So this 700 now you can use for product X. Okay, so how many products you can produce based on these 700 hours, remaining 700 hours. So for one X you need 9. For 1 unit of X you need 9 hours. So you have now 700 hours. So divide 700 by 9, you can see around 77 units you can produce. Product X, you can produce 77. For 77, you actually need 693 hours and 7 hours just remaining. For 7 hour, you can't produce one. So 7 hours still remaining as the balance of machine 2. So you can produce 200 Z, 200 of Y, and only 77 units of product X. And that would be the maximum benefit of the organization to the organization. The organization will get maximum benefit from machine 2 if they produce these products this way. All right. So this is how we should solve this problem. So business option, what the business can do now. So they can, as the most problematic machine is the machine 2, what they can do, they can install another machine. They can buy another machine, machine 2, okay, second machine, and then in that case their capacity will be doubled, 3,200, but they have the demand now for 2,700 units as we calculated before. So that, then in that case there would be no problem regarding machine 2. Okay, so in that case, if you solve the problem of machine 2, then machine 1 will be a constraint. Okay, and we have to do the same thing. How much product we can produce using machine 1 as a constraint resource? We can find it out. So let's see if machine 1 is the problem, is the constraint. So calculated again, contribution is given, and for machine one, how many hours we need to process X in machine 1, and Y in machine 1, and Z in machine 1. So 6 hours, the X is processed 6 hours in machine 1, 2 hours, Y need to be processed 2 hours in machine 1, and 1 hour is the process time for product Z in machine 1. Okay, so if you divide, you can find out the contribution throughput accounting ratio now. So 12 divided by 6 is 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 6 divided by 1 is 6. So if you use 1 hour time, okay, of machine 1 for producing X, your contribution is 2. In case of Y, your contribution is 5. In case of Z, your contribution is 6. So obviously, you will look at which one is the highest one. Okay, so obviously again product Z will give you the highest profit, highest contribution. Highest contribution means highest profit because the fixed cost is same whether you produce X, Y, or Z. Okay, so yeah, so we will look at we will try to produce Z again. That's the first preference. Y would be the second preference, and X is the third preference. Again, as we did for the machine 2, so 200 units of Z we will produce. So if you produce Z, how many hours we need? In machine 1, 1 hour. So 1 hour times 200, 200 hours we need to process or produce 200 units of Z. So how many hours remaining? Its capacity is 1600 minus 200, so 1400 remaining. Okay, so next, what's the second choice? Second choice is Y. So if you produce 200 of Y, for each unit you need 2 hours. So 2 hours times multiplied by 200, so it's 400. So if you deduct 400 from here, it's 1000 hours remaining now for processing or producing product X. Okay, so 1000 hours. By 1000 hours, how many units of X you can produce? For one product, you need 6. You need 6 hours. So if you use 1000 hours, how many units you can produce? So 1000 divided by 6 is 166 units. 166 units if you produce, okay, you need 996 hours. So 4 hours remaining from 1900. If you deduct 996 from 1000, so 4 hours remaining as idle time, and you can produce 166 units of X, right, using 996 hours of machine 1. So this is how you'll get the maximum profits by utilizing your bottleneck resource. So throughput accounting gives you helps you make optimum production decision, how you can maximize your profit, how you can maximize the use of the resources, right? Yeah, so that's the benefit. That's the best, um, uh, that's the most important benefits that you can get from throughput accounting. Okay, so 5 key steps in case of managing bottleneck resources, what we have to do, how we can identify bottleneck resource, or how we can resolve the issue of bottleneck resource. What we have to do, the first job, identify the system's bottleneck or constraints. What's the constraints? What's the problem that we need to identify first? What's our limitations? Is it machine hour? Is it material? Is it labor? Or what? What? Is it electricity? Is it gas? Or is it the space? Whatever, whatever. So we have to identify the resource, and then the second step, we should try to exploit them. We should try to utilize that resource the most. Okay, as we saw in our previous problem, if machine 2 is the bottleneck resource, then we have to utilize the machine 2 the most. Okay, whatever, it can be labor, it can be material, whatever. Number 3, synchronize other non-bottleneck resources to the bottleneck constraints. So we have to use non-bottleneck resources, other resources, based on the capacity, based on the position of bottleneck resource. We should not use non-bottleneck resource more. That will not give us any benefits. So bottleneck resource is the basis of determining how much of the non-bottleneck resource we should use. If we use non-bottleneck resource more, that will give us work in process, that will give us more inventory, that will actually tie up more capital in the organization. Idle capital will not give us any benefit. Number 4, improve the performance of the system's bottleneck resource or constraints. Okay, if we can improve the process. So, for example, if machine 2 is the most crisis, solve the problem. Okay, get another machine or get the job done by someone else. Okay, so you can solve it. If you solve it, then done. Okay, and then you have to identify whether you have any bottleneck resource. That means you have to start the process again. Okay, so identify, is there any other bottleneck resource? Yes, after solving problem 1, that is bottleneck resource of machine 2, we identified that the bottleneck machine 2 is our bottleneck resource again, and then we have to start the process again. How can we utilize the most of our machine 2, most of our machine 1, the second bottleneck resource that we identified? How can we exploit that? And based on the machine 1, we have to decide how we can use material, labor, and other resources. So this is how the process works. Hopefully that helps. And if you didn't understand anything, if you have any question, please ask in the seminar, or you can contact me or other tutors. And thank you very much for your support throughout the semester. And I would like to congratulate you. You did really, really good in your phase test. Yeah, that's a good performance. And lots of students got 100%, 88%, 60, 70%. That's really good. Thank you very much for your effort, and hopefully you'll do good and an excellent grade in your final exam as well. Hope all the best for you. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next week video.